Great to meet you. Thank you so much for giving up your time today.
It's a pleasure.
It means a lot for us. It really does. It's, as you know, we've had our first initial conversation together,
Yeah.
and what we're trying to do is highlight the issue that's going on in construction, specifically around that.
Yes.
So that's what I'd like to touch on today.
Yeah, no, that's
First of all, I'd love to get to know you.
Mark Longley. I've been I work for a company called Robertson. Been there for 8 years. I've been in the construction industry and property. I graduated in 1993, so it's quite a longish career so far. Hopefully it's not about to end just yet. And I've worked in a number of different sectors within the industry. Started off on site, so from quantity surveying, sort of linked back in the process into project management, development management. So I've been around and seen, and I think seen most of it, not just here in the UK, but also worked in France as well. So it's so hopefully a fairly broad experience.
So when you said you graduated, was that specifically in around?
Yeah, I did a degree in construction management.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
So going back, 1990 to 1993, so 53 years old, and I'll be 54 now, so I've been around the block a few times. Indeed, absolutely.
But you definitely got the young energy, Mark, which is great to see. So, obviously, construction industry, you've been in it since you started, really.
Yeah.
What got you into it? What inspired you to get into construction?
I just always had a passion for the built environment.
Yeah.
Really, I love buildings. I liked architecture. I thought, how do you go from a bare bit of land to having a building there?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what drove me, really. We haven't got any sort of familial history in the industry.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, in some ways, you're flying blind a little bit. But that was my passion. And so you just kind of, the lots of it, you just take your first step. And then all you can do is take the next step, and it ends you don't necessarily end up where you think you're going to be.
100%.
You just go with the flow a little bit. Engineer a few moves here and there, and finally end up doing, I think, what you're really passionate about, being able to create something new.
And you sort of you fall into this sort of, because a lot of us when we're young, especially young adults, you've got all this pressure on you, what want to do with a career. But like you said, you're sort of going to one thing, then that might drive you to this way, and then all of a sudden you're now senior at Robertson, which is arguably a very, very large company, a very great position. But I suppose when you was in graduation stage of construction management, did you ever think you'd get to that height?
I guess I hoped I would. I only wanted to. I think probably I didn't necessarily think about that I'd be doing the roles that I'm doing now. I enjoy the roles a bit. I've done a lot of different roles and touched on different facets. The industry's changed a bit, but in lots of ways, and in lots of ways it's not changed at all. So, in lots of things that were hot on the agenda when I was at university have barely moved forward. And other things have taken great leaps forward. So the whole context around it's very quite interesting.
I suppose starting at such a young age, you have different things that light you up, different parts of your life, careers, especially, right? So something that you might have been passionate about then is now actually what you're passionate about, something different now.
Exactly. Right? Exactly, and you've got to make it fit around the rest of your life. I started off on site, based on sites, big projects all over the country, which is great from an experience point of view. And you're living and working with all sorts of different people. You spend your school life with school people and university people, and you go into the big wide world of work, and you've got, I still keep in touch with them, with the guys who were kind of almost like my surrogate dads when I was a young lad on site. And you've got these guys, I still keep in touch with them. We want them over the summer, and you build relationships with people of different ages, different backgrounds, completely. And that's what's, I think, a lot of industries, but in construction, it's great. It's not for a breath, for sure. Kind of relationship building, relates from different experiences, but you've got to move with it and make sure that I suppose as you get further on, that you can fit family life and those sorts of things around it.
About balance.
About balance, absolutely. Sure.
And so I was going to ask, obviously, been about, especially in France, but where are you originally from? Is it Sheffield?
I'm from Sheffield. Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I'm from not far from where we are sat.
Really?
So I was literally born about less than a mile away from here.
Oh wow!
But I've gone away, moved away, came back, meet my now wife. That sort of thing. You move away with work and think, right, I need a bit of stability. That requires a role change in terms of what you're doing. You want that stability around. And we've got 3 kids now, so it's kind of sure you can.
How old are your children?
18, 15, and 11. So so my 18-year-old's just going through that whole bit of uni, jobs, careers, what do you want to do, and the 16's there, all kind of in that
Is he taken after the old man? Is he living?
No, he's not. He will go down a completely different route, but not because I've pushed him that way, or he's interested in kind of more things around medicine and medical, the medical world. Different things, but that's what excites him.
Sure.
So that's great. So we'll support it.
The reason I ask is some of us tend to sort of follow in our dad's footsteps, just naturally. I know I did. I went into, so my dad buys and sells commercial vehicles, plant machineries, and travels up and down the country. And quickly after 2 weeks of being in the car with him up and down the country, it's like, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. It's actually funny enough, the first and last time I come to Sheffield, because my dad called me up.
Yeah.
He went to the Sheffield Modes and Portsmouth game.
Right.
Which wasn't too long ago. And fortunately, he had a fall. He's not too bad. It's how I got into this space. Really. So about 5 or 6 years ago, my dad was given 6 months to live.
Wow. So
he had a triple aortic dissection.
Yeah.
It's the main organ that pumps blood to your brain and to your legs. It's split from his neck down to his legs. They said they'll never be able to take money with a knife because it's just too far gone. Yeah. It just bursts. No one wants that on their records, right? Well, he said, we'll be able to work again. We'll be able to walk 250 yards a day. And you've got to go sort your affairs out, which you're going to die of an aneurysm very soon.
Yeah.
And so I was doing financial education at the time, and COVID shortly come after. But I built a natural wellness plan. And this feeds into what I do now, essentially. Yeah. So I built a natural wellness plan that consisted of oils, cannabis oils, some of them, all different types of, lifestyle change, affirmations, gratitude, visualizations, all the things that my dad would never do originally if I told him to do it. But when you're backed into a corner, it's a little bit like do anything right now. Yeah. So I'd get him going into cold water therapy, putting his hand in his heart, saying thank you for my healing powers. And all of a sudden, 6 years later, he's the only survivor in the world out of 36 people with severity. Yeah. And so it led me into this path of natural solutions, what's being overlooked. Yeah. And since that journey with my dad, I started building plans for lots of other people. Yes. Just getting lots of amazing wins, essentially. Yeah. And it led me to the path of, actually 2 years ago, I lost my first parent to suicide. Yeah. And I've lost several others in the last 2 years. And it's really what shaped me into building Speak and what we're doing now. Because everyone I help, and I've been doing Speak for the last 18 months, everyone I've helped, it's all like a natural, holistic solution, and all about mindset. And it seems to be getting people out of this, like, rut, if you like. Yeah. And so we're very much not against medicine, but against the just giving people antidepressants, and then putting them on 12-week waiting list. Yeah, so people just don't feel like they're being supported in that way. Absolutely. And once they get on the tablets, they find it very hard to get off the tablets. And it doesn't just numb, it stops you from feeling sad, but it also stops you from feeling happy. Yeah. So it sort of numbs all your nerves. Yeah. So we're really trying to bring a natural solution, especially to the construction industry. You know? So a question would be to yourself. You've worked in construction for a very long time. It is the most pressured industry to be in.
Can be, yeah.
The stats don't lie. No. So right now, if you work in construction, you're 4 times more likely to take your own life than any other profession.
It's horrific.
It's crazy, right? 2 people a day take their own lives in construction. Before I ask why is that, I'd like to know how you've got through so positively, and I don't know if you have got through positively. Actually, that's an assumption. So, how have you been?
I generally have, but like everyone, you have your times. You have when things aren't going so well. You have your times when things get on top of you, and times when work's not what you want it to be, and it's not fulfilling a role that you need it to do in your life. It's not necessarily the most positive thing. I think that happens in everything, in every industry. And I think what really struck me, and I think when we spoke, was really about the thing that really made me, if you like, respond to your, if I'm honest, was that, since I've been in the industry since 1993, there's always been a huge focus on physical health and well-being, safety, as there rightly should be. The thing that really resonates with that is that nobody, deserves to go to work and not come home, or to not come home the same person. So there's been a huge investment. I think cultural change that continues, that needs to continue to change and evolve and to get better and better and better. And there's been some incremental improvement, but it is incremental improvement. You know, in terms of you talk about the numbers, for me, the bits that really resonate. Right, and this was last year when I started to look at it, was that, you know, the industry, I think when I started, probably about 80 or so people lost their lives from a physical, you know, accidents, etc. And that's down about 60. So there's been some improvement. I was absolutely staggered when I saw that, you know, it's over 700 people a year take their own lives who work in construction, and that construction is completely overrepresented in those suicide figures. And that really got me thinking about things. And I looked to reflect on your own. I mean, I've generally had a very, a pretty positive experience in the industry, but you can see and have come across as of people who don't, and you can understand and start to think, why is that, and why are some people not having that experience that I've had? Why they're having perhaps a worse experience than they might have in other industries? And is that a linkage? Is it causality? And I think I don't think we know. But I think the really important thing is that in having conversations like this and through some of the work that you're doing, and I think some of the work that I've been doing, some of the work that we're doing as an organisation and beyond, and other support organisations, it's being talked about and it's being recognised and it's acknowledged, and that's got to be the starting point. You know, in acknowledging how we think we've got a problem.
Yeah, and we're not burying it under the carpet.
No, and we've got to do something about it. And the stats, at the level they are, don't lie, because they're not. It's not. You're not talking about a couple of percent, 5%. Arguably, it's not statistically significant. They're ridiculous. They are huge, and there has to be a reason.
And also, it's a massive effect on business as a whole as well, right? Because I've come across, you know, since I've looked into this space more, 40% of absentees is due to mental health.
Yes,
that's a massive number, right? And I think I just want to take that back a little bit, because you've been in the industry for so long, and it's good to speak to people like yourself. That's why I want to speak to more senior levels, because they've lived and breathed the space.
Yeah.
As we say, you know, we're starting to open up conversation. Before, going back in, 93, you started, right?
Yeah.
Did people talk about that?
What was it? Wasn't even a thing, was it? It was, I was, I think hopefully, I'm different generations to my parents, but, the experience, it's very difficult. They were brought up in a different era, and the industry itself was very different. It's always been quite, I'd say, I don't necessarily blame that on it, but it's been quite a sort of generally male-dominated, quite macho industry, particularly on site, and there might be reasons for that. And it's so basically, if you're a shrinking violet, for example, you might struggle. You might just have it to get on, because it's not a world where you can necessarily everybody can feel comfortable in. And that's an issue. Yeah. That is absolutely an issue, I think, and that has been recognised as well. And a lot more conversations around that. But how do you get so that everybody can all of themselves to work, rather than sort of feeling, well, it's my bit, I don't want to know about it. End of that type of thing. And that's changed. Well, that has changed quite radically, I think, in the 30 years that I've been in the industry. It certainly just wasn't even acknowledged. It wasn't spoken about. It wasn't something people put up. There were no statistics around it. I don't think there might have been, not that I saw, and not that people highlighted. Whereas now that's very different. I think that has changed, and it's starting to change. I don't think we're yet. There might be some, but I don't think we're yet down through to that. So there's got to be a whole host of continued change, cultural change, acknowledgement. What do we do about it? How do we, where can we be most effective? Is it your wellness plans? Is it other things? Is it, is it just talking about it, conversations? Whatever it is, we've got to find a better answer to the one we've got now, which was to.
But the numbers have gone up as well.
Yeah.
So do you think that's partly maybe social media's come in? Do you think that a saying that I'll come across, you might have heard it before, but weak times create hard people, and hard people create easy times, but then easy times create weak people? And I feel like there's a generation now, the younger generation, I think, it's all this generation as we're at. Maybe we created easier times, And actually, it's I don't want to call us weak, but I think because it's probably the wrong terminology to use. But I think talking facts is we're struggling a lot more. But then actually, we've got new components in like social media and things like this.
And I think that might be an issue. I don't know. Looking at my own kids, it's an issue. Some of them deal with it better than others.
Yeah.
You know, but we've got a different generation. They will deal with it differently. It didn't exist when I was certainly started out in my working career, and we didn't go to school, thankfully. You know, so it's great. I think looking at how things have gone, you know, you've created. There's a lot of uncertainty, and maybe I don't know. Is there more uncertainty in the world and in the industry at the moment?
Yeah.
There probably is. We've had periods when it's been, there will have been periods where it's hugely uncertain. We're going through a period of massive uncertainty.
Yeah, and we've just come out of COVID.
Exactly. We've had COVID, we've had big economic change, we've had all sorts of economic, I think for a chunk of my career, if you look at kind of late 90s to the, to the late sort of 2000s, that was a period of quite great stability. The economy was doing pretty well. The industry itself was doing really, really well. There's some great projects to work on. There's a lot of work around. And that brings with it some very positive experiences, and it gives career progression, all sorts of things. Now, I think that's more difficult right now because we've had so much uncertainty, and we're going to continue to have uncertainty, not just around the UK, but across the world, which impacts on where investment comes from, those decisions around does a project progress, how do we move forward, and that's a difficult place for people to work. Some people are very easy with uncertainty, but I don't think most of them are. You're always going to have some uncertainty, and dealing with it is a necessity of life. Sure. But I think my job is trying to create certainty from where there isn't any, and to try and provide that certainty for your family and absorb the uncertainty. And I think that probably part that lack of certainty, that instability, I think helps partly certainly over the last 10 years. What would be
definitely, and probably to go back to what I said there, is back about easy times. Probably we are in hard times right now, right? You might tell the news about wellbeing freedom. Cost of living. Yeah, it's like everything right now is all different angles, and I think we're all trying to cope with that. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And it's difficult. I think for me, the work environment, that's difficult because you've seen decision making is difficult. You get a decision because it's tough, economic uncertainty. And then you're also trying to provide that stability at home and trying to insulate your family from that uncertainty. Yeah. And maybe I'm in that way I'm a different generation to my father. But maybe I'm not in that way because I think, as I've mentioned, as a parent, you want to insulate the rest of your family. Certainly, as a father, you want to insulate the rest of your family from that uncertainty. Be able to provide, full stop. Anyone else provide, part of that provision is certainty.
Yeah,
and that's where you want to go.
When you have got that at home, and work's not providing it, and all of a sudden, every aspect of life is uncertain.
Absolutely, and you've got to have some certainty there. I mean, whether it's your home life, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your friends, whether it's work, certainly those pillars have to be there. I think for people, for them to feel. Basically, they're stable themselves. Sure. You can have some uncertainty there. You can, but if you put too much uncertainty, that's when I think people, react in a very negative way, and that can go downhill.
Yeah, and once you fall into that negative, I think we was about to say that you start to spiral, and it can become quite quick. Yes, and then you start to lose touch of your own sort of reality in your own self. Yeah, and all of a sudden, you then start to convince yourself that the world's actually a better place without you in it. And then once you can get stuck on those thoughts, you can convince yourself. Absolutely. And then the next thing you know, people are making, it's just the worst decision you've ever made. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And, going on to the construction industry, like we say, is, I think, especially because I've run some numbers now. So we've taken on our founding partner, who's Elliot's. Thankfully, they've believed in us, like yourself, he believes in what we're trying to achieve. And they've given us 10 sites to start with. Yeah. And we've not got through them all just yet. But what we've done is we create a questionnaire. Yeah. So everybody scans the questionnaire, and it helps us feed data back to the construction site, that specific site, to say, right, we did like 28% of financial stress, 23 of anxiety, depression, and might be addiction, might be a relationship, might be grief. And at least we can start to piece together like what is the worst area of this site?
Yeah.
And how can we help these people with this area? And now you can talk about financial stress. Like I said, that cost of living, everyone's is feeling it right now, right? Especially the people who are sort of your labourers, your subcontractors, your self-employed workers. One thing that we've identified, speaking to a lot of those people, is that there is no stability when they're in a time of crisis.
Yeah.
So if they are struggling mentally, or if their mum's on the hospice bed, they've got to make a decision whether they're going to go see their mum or whether they're going to go to work. And that in itself is a very hard position. So something that we're doing with Speak is donations we're bringing in, we're going to put into an impact fund.
Yeah.
So any contractor or self-employed worker that is in a time of crisis, we want them to be able to lean on us, and we can help them financially. So that's one piece of what we're trying to do, and it's because so my previous business was track finance, responsibility for holding finances. I've got accredited to a GCC level money management, credit management, and that's where I sort of started to just go down this rabbit hole of like, wow, like the biggest cause of stress is finances, right? And so a lot of people have taken their own lives. If they knew how to manage money and be able to manage day to day and budget a little bit better, then these people would be able to be able to survive and be able to help their family home a little bit better. So that's something else we want to bring in as a resource as well. It's the education side of things. Education, it's in our acronym, suicide prevention, education, action, kindness is what we try and stand for. So that's what we're trying to bring in as much as we possibly can. As a business for Robinson, I know obviously we're speaking to you and not as part of Robinson today. I've seen that you've done such amazing work with social value, like nearly £1 billion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's very important to business, very important to everyone who works in it, and they're basically very, very keen on investing back into the next generation of people and to being part of where projects work on, where we have to become part of it. Try and become part of that positive side of that community. Investing back into youth. A lot of apprentices, and some fantastic work with apprentices that go through business, and also a lot of work on that side of well-being and mental health have become a big issue for the company as well. We've got a lot of mental health first aid. I did mental health first aid on with some colleagues last year, so that's become we have lots of outreach wellness programs. So that's become an increasing part of the business, which is great, because I think that's what it's the right thing to do. And it enables you to have to provide a very positive working environment for people.
Brilliant.
As best you can.
Well, I looked at, obviously, I've done a bit of homework on the company that you work with, and having 3,000 employees must come with a lot of responsibility, right? Feeding 3,000 families.
Well, absolutely, and that will weigh very heavy on a lot of people in the business, and it's not easy. And say in uncertain times like this, that leads to uncertainty, because at the end of the day, it is a business, and businesses have to make money and get returns on.
This is it at the end of the day, right? In business, the most important thing is your bottom line. Unfortunately, you don't have a business. But the most important people to make that bottom line are, it's the people in the company, right? And so for Robinson to recognise that and to give so much social value over even the last 5 years, 20, obviously you've been going for a very long time, but that number I think I looked at was that nearly $1 billion just in the last 5. It's like, wow, that must foster a good company culture, because people get to see that you
absolutely. Absolutely, it's a very good company to work for. And that does breed the right sort of culture. It breeds quite a, if you like, an open culture where I think people aren't afraid to speak up. And I think that it's very supportive, forward thinking, and anything you need that, and that's that offers positive experiences. Well, for 8 years if it wasn't so.
Exactly.
And hence, it's probably a long time being at any firm. So it tends to be an industry where people do move on.
Sure.
quite a lot.
Yeah.
And that's it.
But it speaks volumes. It does speak volumes for the company itself, even like you say, you've been there for 8 years and to be able to give that much social value back. But looking at this 3,000 people, do you know statistically that means that at least one lives been taken every year within the company?
Yeah.
And then statistically, it means that 20 other people are thinking about it.
Yeah. And that's frightening, isn't it?
Very frightening. And then you think people might not be quite suicidal, they might be lost within themselves, they might be depressed, they might have all different things going on. And you think, well, it's frightening because there's such a need for this. And obviously, you putting up a chair and speaking with me today goes to show how much it means to you as a person, and obviously you represent Robertson. I know we're obviously it's me and you today, but it's incredible to see. It really is.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say, I know, and I'm not too sure about Robertson's, but I know construction companies and companies as a whole have a great metrics on measuring like emissions, but how do companies measure well-being?
I don't think they do at the moment. So we might measure things like employee engagement, those sorts of things. When we do, you measure, health and safety statistics, coming out of everything's very well recorded. Nobody, that kind of things, and near misses and all that sort of stuff. Don't walk by type of things from that point of view. But I think that we probably don't, and I think that's as an industry. I don't think the industry does.
Not even just construction.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably part of the issue for, if you like, mental health, and certainly leading to where it's most unfortunate is in terms of suicide. The suicide figures are kind of there and are very I guess easy to get hold of. The bits that might lead up to that, less so, far less so. Very, very, very difficult. It's like opening a can of worms, but I think it's a can of worms we've hopefully opened and got to deal with as an industry. And I think part of the issue that makes it difficult is the sort of, in comparison to, let's say, physical health and those things and accidents, is the direct causality of it. And the lines in the other bit are very clear from a corporate point of view, very clear lines of accountability. It's measured. You take direct interventions. There's the whole legal and regulatory framework around it. That doesn't really exist as far as I'm aware, for a mental well-being perspective.
Yeah.
So it's therefore you have to rely at the moment on companies doing the right thing and wanting to solve. And I think there is a lot of willingness out there. There is.
And it's also getting the people on the ground you're trying to support themselves.
Absolutely.
Because that's about to climb as it is.
Exactly. And I think that's the key point of me thinking about this when we're going here today. I think about actually what is it you really do need? Individuals and groups of individuals, whether it's for yourself or for your friends, your colleagues, whatever it is, to take responsibility for them and to be there for those people, to let them know until you understand those sorts of things, and to help. Because I don't think you can put it all onto companies. Because it won't work in the same way. I don't think it can work in the same way that it does for physical health and safety.
You look at a football team, for example. Yeah. You look at the man. You can't. Managers can only do so much, right?
Absolutely.
If the players aren't playing for them, they're not turning up and putting that effort in.
That's right. And that's an intangible thing, isn't it? So you can provide really good training facilities. You can put on really good structured training sessions. You can do that. You can say that's your job, that's your role, that's your role. The whole bit about what makes it more difficult then is the kind of how do you get people to actually want to do that role? How do you get to be comfortable doing that role? How do you get them to kind of like speak up when that's not the role that they can ever do? That's a challenge, isn't it?
So we have two solutions for this, right? So we have an AI solution. But we'd like to go on to talk to you a bit more about the AI. It's obviously what's coming. It's a big AI wave, right? And then we also have, that's like a Thrive to Build. We have partners who are coming. So we've got like this triangle. Speak sits in the top. We have a partner company who basically integrate AI workflows, but how to measure well-being. And they partner with the other side of the triangle, which is our Thrive to Earn model. We know as people, right, human behaviour, we know the right things we should be doing. And sometimes we give out the best advice to people, but take our own advice sometimes, we're our own worst enemy. Until I feel that you're incentivized to do something more than what's yourself, then I think that real change can start to happen.
Yeah.
So we've got this model where with our Thrive to Earn position and using the AI, we want to foster a community on each site.
Yeah.
So each site has a specific community, right? And the more that each person turns up for themselves, and how they do that is by putting onto the a community group chat on the forum, and it'll be their specific construction site. They'll put onto that forum, they've done a meditation tonight, and it was a 10-minute meditation, and they just popped in the resource that they used, and it was one of our resources. It might be a breath work, it might be going for a run, it might be doing something wholesome, taking the partner out on a date night. But the more they engage and show that they're being and turning up for themselves, but then they turn up for their peers as well, lending an ear, inviting somebody on for a run, or it might be meeting up before work, we start work and let's go for a coffee together, and we just had a chat, and you can start to foster that. With our AI partners, they can record every engagement and put points to it, right? And so the more points they get, at the end of every quarter, they will be rewarded. So they hit a threshold, and then they go into a raffle, if you like, and they might get £5,000 of debt. It might be a family holiday to Disneyland. It might be 3 months rent paid. It'll be something for them to think, you know what, I want to get into that raffle. And then it might say to people like, oh yeah, but if I'm not turning up and I'm too late to the boat, I'm not gonna crack on, and I'm not gonna hit that threshold. So what's the point? Well, we also say every couple of weeks, we're going to take people out who have been active in those couple of weeks at random and take them to a rugby game or a football game or whatever it is they might be interested in. And so we're going to look to partner with all these different clubs and different events places so we can start to offer these things. Yeah. Do you think that could be quite a good solution to try and get people to turn up for themselves?
I think it could be. I'd have to add, I suppose, a proof of being a pudding, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think the point for me is surely it's got to be worth a try, hasn't it? And if it fails, it fails. Mm-hmm. You know, if you you'll know whether it will or it won't. But if you don't try something, I think this is for me where I guess where the industry is as a whole. We've got to start to look at some solutions and try something, because we know there's a problem. Yeah. We don't necessarily know why we've got a problem. Mm-hmm. And we certainly don't know what the solutions are. No. And which solutions are going to be the most effective. So as an industry, I think we've got to start to try and do something. We've got a number of people who've done the same mental health first aid courses. Hopefully that will have some level of impact. Mm-hmm. But other solutions, we need to try other ones. And I think different solutions will work in different places. With different companies in different tiers of the, if you like, of the kind of corporate structure, from people, the sort of labourers on site and facility management workers right up to the top, because I think everyone's challenges are subtly different. People are incentivised by things. People's support networks are different, and hopefully you can, over time, different solutions start to build a picture of where because we know that for physical health. We know that. We know where every accident happened. We know why, and you can go through the whole chain of, right, this is why, this is how you go about trying to stop it. Cultural change is the hardest part. Yeah, you can identify all these things as much as you want, but there's got to be. I think what I've learned from that, what we've learned as an industry, has to be a relentless focus on those sorts of things. And can we get there with mental health and well-being? We absolutely can. How long will it take? Who knows? But we've got to do something with the statistic how they are, and the devastating impact, to all those families and people around it. That when it ends in its worst case, we've got to do something for sure. Have to find something.
I like what you said in terms of it's different for different people, and different things work for different people, and that's what I'm a massive believer in. And I think the sort of the system that we've got for mental health right now is one glove fits all, and it's the slide the breast across the table and say, and unfortunately doctors haven't got resources right now. So they haven't. That's all they've got to give at the minute, and they can put you on a 12-week waiting list. And people are going on this 12-week waiting list, and they feel like it's a bit of a tick box exercise.
But how many people never even get that far? How many people bypass that?
Yeah.
Actually, and it's basically just the kind of people who I see them, I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
Just walked up here, and then next thing you know, got. And then you find, they've got like, maybe a history and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And there's still a kind of, because typically it comes with other challenges, isn't it? So depression comes with other challenges. It might be, alcoholism, or it might be, it might be drug abuse, all sorts of other things. It can be, and I think this is the challenge for those mental health and mental, and well-being and mental ill health. Really, challenge for it is it can be lots of factors. So it's not just a work problem. It can be a relationship problem. It can be it's a whole thing, because it's a whole person. It doesn't happen straight away, does it?
No.
It builds over a period of years, and people sometimes, I do know people, they've got there and they've had some issues that they've then got through and had that periods of stability, and then it has gone off the rails further down the line, and that's the real challenge.
This is
things.
it.
And are certain people more vulnerable to it? Perhaps they are, but actually, therefore, they need a better support network around them. And work can absolutely be part of that.
Yeah.
But it's not the only part of it.
No.
And I think that's the thing for me, is kind of building that picture of how do we just make it better.
So what we do is because I don't believe that one community is going to save you, because unfortunately you might not be my cup of tea, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And if you come and join that group, this is all you've got.
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden like, I can't feel good. I don't feel I'm going to get the help here. So what we do is, and I remember you said about your brother who's got a mental health performing arts.
Yeah.
What we like, I feel like in this space, there's no room for competition. It's got to be all about collaboration.
Absolutely.
And it's right. Okay, so who can we partner with different areas, so these people can go and have a face-to-face talk with these people
absolutely.
and find out whether they are going to be their cup of tea, or whether they might need to go, do you know what, performing arts isn't for me, but this boxing club might be great.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be.
And some, my brother's, as I say, he runs a mental health charity called 6 Foot from the Spotlight, which focuses on similar issues to this, in terms of people, we're providing well-being services and solutions into typically film, theatre, TV, and the cynic in me sort of said, but this is fine. It says that they employ him to sort of like tick a box to take away some of the problems. I think there's an element of that, but they do some fantastic work, and they also training other people, facilitators, to do things. But what struck me in conversation with him, and we were talking, was the similarities, and and I did remember talking to him last year about, I've been in this and looking at numbers of suicide numbers it related to construction, and I was absolutely astounded by that. I said, and I don't know whether anything that they do exists in construction, in a coordinated way. Yeah. And clearly you're doing that thing, doing some fantastic work that you're doing, and there was great parallels with it. And then I also started to think about the parallels between the industry that my brother works in and construction. There are lots of parallels. Much as we might think that culturally they're very different, and they perhaps are, but there's some massive similarities in terms of that instability, that kind of, and actually I don't think culturally, quite demanding, quite pressurized environments. Yeah. At times, transient nature of the work. You can be here, you can be up there, you can be all over. You're traveling, a lot of that, and that's what they do. He's had some great gigs, some brilliant ones. He got some less great ones, but he has some fantastic gigs supporting people. Yeah, filming all around the world at times, and which is great. But but there are people as well that they know now are quite very, very talented, hugely talented, but also quite vulnerable. Yeah. And being able to provide that support and make sure that those people have got that support, those support networks around them. And originally it was called 6 Foot from the Spotlight, because obviously in that, when you've got the people at the front who everybody sees, and they get the adulation support, as the people at the back, there's a lot of the whole trail of people behind who actually don't get treated quite so well. They don't get the adulation, they don't get the money, and they're doing a hugely valuable work without the support.
And that, like, not getting the recognition for your work, I think it's a huge part of it. And I feel that with some contractors and self-employed workers, I feel that they can feel like just a number.
That's right.
And when you're working on these wet days,
and it's you're a bit part in a way, aren't you? And a really important bit part. You think about a new building, you get there and you get the topping out ceremony, and you go for dinner and all the rest of it. What about the guy who just fixed the rebar of in the foundations a year before all that happened. And you never actually get to see the finished product. You might do when you drive past it. So he said, lots of people play a huge role. They're all incredibly important because these things don't work without them.
Yeah, and I think it's reminding those people that they are important.
Absolutely.
Part of the thing we're going to do every year, we're going to do an award ceremony. We're going to try and bring that to light. It might be the guy who's worked in the footing to the roof, whoever. But those people who have turned up for themselves and turned up for others, we want to give them an award on stage, make them feel like, you deserve this, and you're not just a number, and try and bring that sense of culture again. And it's not a company culture because it'll be split across many, many different companies, but it's still trying to foster that culture.
Absolutely.
For sure. And within that culture, then hopefully company cultures will start to strengthen too. And I feel that for us, we're trying to bring this holistic view. So I mentioned to you on our first initial call, the reason why, construction for me, both brothers are scaffolders, my other brother's a roofer. A lot of my pals are in construction. I've worked on a site a couple of times, but I've always done sort of slightly different things. But I just think in terms of the construction sites and how we can bring the change to the construction sites using our solutions is we need to speak to these people on a level.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we bring, I told you about Dicko's Diner, right?
Yeah.
So we bring smash burgers and we rock up. And what our idea is, we want to come across, we want to hit every single construction site across the UK. First, just foster a conversation, get them to do the questionnaire, we build the wellness plan.
Yeah.
And then with that, then that's right. At least we've gone there, we've got the whole site engaged, and now they know that this community is here, it exists if they want to speak up.
Yeah.
And that's the way we sort of want to try and bring that in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that could be hugely valuable. And as I say, we've got to start to do these sorts of things. I mean, find solutions because we know there's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. If you know the problem, not addressing it, not doing anything to address it, is criminal.
Yeah. But it is. I think it's been swept under the carpet for too long. And I think speaking to people like yourself, we all do care.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're all under pressure at the same time.
Absolutely.
We've all got deadlines.
Precisely.
We've all got stuff going on at home.
Yeah.
And you can become a little bit sort of tunnel vision in life sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think if we can start to open up conversations like this, it shows that actually our senior level, he does care and he's human and he is, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think if we can have these conversations, like I said to you, we want to have conversations from the labourer to the CEO and everyone in between.
Absolutely.
And I think that to start fostering the conversations a big part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's got to become as important as, I think it is, and certainly, and obviously, I think it is treated like that, as important as that physically. Been treated in the same way. Let's make sure that people have got that out there. And that people, because that's the way to a happier, more productive workforce ultimately. And also, nobody wants any of that, whatever it is, on their conscience, and nobody wants that. Nobody does. No, part of. Be part of something that's really people will continue to take their own lives. They will. But surely with the numbers where they are now, we can, through the right type of interventions, through understanding better, those numbers can start to come down.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that made me think, actually, now I feel that we can really get companies to move on this, was a study by Deloitte.
Yeah.
So they said every £1 you spend on your construction workers' mental health, it'll return you £5.
Yeah.
So I thought, hang on a minute. I've already got a natural solution which we're helping people mentally and physically. If we can bring this to the construction industry, all of a sudden we can get a tax-deductible donation turned into an investment.
Yeah.
And if we can use the AI to earn the speak model and an ecosystem where the company earns and benefits from company culture strengthening, through actually less absentees, more productivity.
Yeah.
And then you've got the employees that are feeling recognised and they're feeling like they've got an incentive to turn up for themselves.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Speak Impact Fund, which actually we're going to support you financially. I feel like it could be an ecosystem that could help, hopefully, drive change.
Absolutely. I mean, it certainly sounds very positive.
Everything
but it's that we've got to try something.
We've
We've got to try something, and
Yeah.
you can try. It might fail, or it might do some fantastic work, but not have the impact you expected it to.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a go. No, if you don't try.
Exactly.
And that might spur the people on to try something else and say, well, actually, like I say, it's not, basically, actually, I don't think that will work. So let's try this. I can see there's a reason, but I think this will be a better solution. The point being, they could both be great solutions, couldn't they?
Exactly.
Ignore me. And if you've got 5 potential solutions, that's fine because someone's got a choice of solutions, haven't they? Think, well, fantastic, I can choose whichever one.
Exactly.
And only then will we get some proper change, I think.
Yeah.
And sustained change.
Yeah. But it all starts with a conversation.
Absolutely.
And Mark, honestly, I know I said it at the start, but it's an honour to have you come on and to give your time up. And at such a senior level for such a big company, it means so much to not just to us, but I think it means so much to what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on, and been a pleasure to come and talk to you. Something certainly, I think very passionate about from our point of view. Got there, you look around the industry, and I think, well, what are the big challenges? And this is a big challenge, a massive challenge. Looking at, we've got lots of talk about sustainability and things like that. This is right up there, and we've gone back, barely made any progress. We probably haven't made progress. I'd say gone backwards in the last 30 years, and maybe that's just because of the scale of the industry and the size of it. But I don't know. We've got a bigger population in the country, haven't we? So, but it's completely overrepresented in suicide figures, and in terms of so therefore you imagine through mental ill health figures as well, completely overrepresented. You would think as an industry, and we've got to do something about it.
Yeah. Well, so it starts here.
It does, absolutely. Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.